Used to be Martin's.
No, Martin finished my job.
No, that's Andy's, but
Thank you very much, everybody. Welcome to this October meeting of the Environment Committee. Do we have any apologies for absence?
No apologies.
No apologies, thank you very much. Any declarations of interest? Hi, John. Hello, John. No declarations of interest, okay. Minutes of the last meeting on the 29th of July, has everybody had a chance to look? Has everyone happy with that? Would you agree them?
Yeah.
We need to put hands up. Thank you. Budgets. Latest figures. Is there anything that we need to talk about on that? What
you wish to say that thank you for the regular comments on the outside and left with the mugger repairs. Nice to see that that's done now. That's at Laysell, isn't it? I know that the team had trouble getting the bit in it, so it's nice to see that's repaired and the other things that you've repaired as well, Lee. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Getting that done, we do appreciate it. I know that things aren't always, not that you don't want to repair it, you're waiting sometimes for other parts, which is frustrating for you and people don't understand, but we do. So thank you very much.
Anything else on Margaret?
Thank you. I probably ought to know this, and I'll kick myself when you tell me what it is. EMR in red.
Earmark reserve.
Thank you.
I asked myself the same question when I was bored, and then I thought,
They were an 80s band.
Yeah.
That was it.
We did
REM.
oh, REM is.
REM, yeah.
REM.
ELO.
Yeah, okay, enough, thank you. Right, so everybody happy with budget figures?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody, for keeping us so well within our projected expenditure, etc. So we move on. Item 5 is motion from Councillor Harvey. John, would you like to?
Yes, just on the agenda, but I can't remember what I said. Just saying, I think it would be helpful because it's something I think people expect of us, even though it's not our responsibility. And we all know the importance of seating in town. As places, not only for people who need to sit down because of physical ailments or whatever, but also as places for people to get to know each other, you know, share a perspective on things, just take a moment really. And I just think we could be doing more. We've had the fiasco of the benches outside the old town hall, which we all know about. And I just thought we ought to take stock of what benches there are in the town, specifically which ones are in our control. I was thinking about it as I walked over the bridge just now. Who puts up a park bench next to a river that's known to flood without a concrete base to it, for example? Because now it's washed away, and now the legs, even my legs, and I'm not particularly short, dangle from some of those benches by the weir there at the back end of the car park. So I just think I'm not quite sure what the structure would look like, and there's no urgent need for it, but I just think something we ought to be working towards having, and maybe other parish towns which case we can model ours upon theirs. And we did talk I think it might even be years ago now, about new places for benches in the town centre. But nothing ever really happened. I think I remember identifying one outside what used to be the Lord's Bank, but is now a banking hub. There's a space there. And there may be other spaces too. I know that, for example, several of the coffee shops in town are now inhabiting the pavements with their you know, seating areas and the tables and so forth. So there's got to be space for one or two more benches. And we can also integrate this with the happy to chat benches as well, that we've got two of in the town, maybe there's scope to expand that a little bit. And also see what we can do to persuade people who own other portions of semi-public land to put in some more benches too. So that was the aim of it, is to put together all those ideas into a plan and use it into a strategy and use it to kind of generate more benches and seating in the town generally, but specifically in the town centre, because we know that we want to make the town more accessible in every sense of the word, how important benches are to many, many people. As a kind of, I hear stories of people, because some benches have been removed in other places, that they can't then go out because there's nowhere for them to perch en route to the supermarket or en route to the doctor's surgery or whatever else happens to be. That's the simple. This should surely be non-controversial. I'm not saying it's done urgently, but over the course of time, I think it would be a good thing to do. And I can imagine that Nina would get onto this case with the verb that Nina has.
Thank you, John. I've got Lisa. Thank you.
John actually touched on it, that we did discuss this a couple of years ago, and I thought it had been agreed, but it's obviously one of those things that we've got to slip, slipped in that. So I'm happy to second the motion. As somebody with mobility issues, I think it is important. We've got a town of aged population as well as people with various accessible issues or needs. So I'm happy to second it.
Thank you. Robin.
Yeah, thank you for the motion. I'm just curious, the third line is this town centre, why it's on this committee and not town centre and events. It's a town centre prospect.
No, why it's an environment.
Benches belong to environment, the budget for benches and is on environment, and all benches conversations have always been done by the environment.
But
If any benches were going to be put in, it would be this committee would have to fund it and maintain them.
yeah, well, thank you for that response, but we don't own the town centre. The town centre is owned by Buckinghamshire Council, and those things and if you were going to put benches in the town centre, they have to go in keeping with the use of the town. So I disagree that it should have gone on environment. We actually have a system here where committees work around each other, in the sense that I feel that we could have done the strategy around the event strategy, around how we put them, how the markets and everything else, and then come up with some suggestions, and then it could have come back to the environment. But the weakness of it is we can make decisions about our own areas of land that we own, but we're completely at the request of the Buckinghamshire Council allowing us to put benches into the area of the town centre. We found that out when benches are removed, if they or they're missing, they take no particular responsibility for it. And if we did do a strategy, I think it should be I like the point that John made, that there's no particular rush, but I think we should always go back and see what we actually said, because we actually did make some suggestions which were agreed by members and forward. It could be that those suggestions that we made very much mirror what I think John was trying to do, which is look at this in the long. It's a bit like, we shouldn't try and rewrite something we've already done. So somewhere along the line, there was a minute number and an agreement and a policy, and it might have been John Reed brought the original policy forward to actually look at it. So I'd like to see that information at least used in the strategy, if we do a strategy, to make sure we don't, it may save us a lot of time, because there should have been some work done on it. But I still disagree with the committee that it was placed on. But obviously that's how it is.
I would say the happy to chat benches, all of the benches stuff has come through this committee, because it is part of the environment's remit.
Yeah.
It was just the first line of it, it says.
Lucy.
I agree with the idea behind it and the premise. Potentially as you said, Robin, it could be something where committees, we all work with each other, we all cross over committees, and if the strategy sat with environment because of funding and budget, but there was some sort of an agreement that placement ideas would be run past town centre and events to make sure that there wasn't any overlap, there wasn't any kind of crossover with markets or town centre events that on environment might not have as much of an overview of. But in terms of the strategy itself, I was thinking, I don't know if this is the right place, but you could potentially have a map of the town centre with colour coded what is private, what is Buckingham Town Council, what is Buckinghamshire Council. And then on that kind of highlight, have like a little dot, say where there are existing benches. And from there, we can maybe see where there is need and where it's actually feasible to put something.
Thank you, Lucy. Well,
I think all good ideas. I mean, the way I describe that is more of a town sitting strategy or the town centre one. Obviously with the focus where most people tend to be in the town centre, but I think it expands into the parks we've got and the other parks too, and so on. And Robin, I did submit it to CC thing, but Claire rightly said no, it falls under environment, so that's why it's here. But there shouldn't.
Well, you must think how I think then.
There shouldn't be an issue about that really, because we're all one council, aren't we? We all do things, but it doesn't really matter that much.
can I suggest an amendment to your motion?
Yeah, sure.
John, that we take out the town centre part of it. So it would read, this committee agrees to create a seating strategy to take stock of existing provision and consider how to best improve the availability of public benches, etc., where there is need and demand, and then add to it, taking into account previous decisions regarding seating and benches made by this council.
Fine with me. That's fine with Lisa.
Yeah.
Rosie. Yeah, fine with that.
And you accept the words, Chair, we need to include, because there was some decisions taken and whatever, and it might have been even John who actually did it at the time, it's a number of years ago, about where we put benches, where they're going to go and whatever, there was some, there may be only just.
This is encompassing that.
Yeah, it will encompass it. So
That'll be encompassing it.
That's fine.
We don't have that information in front of us now, but the future thing will take that into account.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you
Yeah.
happy with that, John?
I'm happy with that. Lisa's happy with that.
Yeah.
If Paula's got it down, yeah.
Can I?
Would you mind reading it back to Samantha, sorry?
So with the amendment, this committee agrees to create a seating strategy to take stock of existing provision and to consider how best to improve the availability of public benches, etc., where there is need and demand. And to take into account previous decisions about seating benches made by this council.
That's it.
Fine.
Yeah. Okay, we go to the vote then? Yeah. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously.
Just find somewhere to
Yeah,
sit.
so that is vote for the amendment and then you need to now vote on the amendment.
No, we've accepted the amendment. The proposer and seconder.
Yeah, then we don't need to vote.
We don't
on
need to
it.
vote on it.
Okay, fair enough.
Understanding orders there. We've accepted it.
Yeah.
It's already part.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, John.
Good job.
Right, item 6, Bourton Park footbridge update. Lee, I think you've probably got something for us on this. I think you've got something for us on this.
So just to update you is where we are with this project. So we're currently with the footbridge that needs to be removed, we're in the process of diverting the right of way from which runs over the footbridge we want to remove to the adjoining footbridge next to it. This application was made in November last year and work is still going on. So what we're doing at the moment is weekly checks on the condition of the existing bridge, just trying to keep it open as much as possible, carrying out repairs to the deck where required. But at some point, of the bridge itself will be beyond repair, and we won't be able to repair it economically, and we will probably have to close the bridge at very short notice. The moment we're talking to the rights of way team, and they're currently getting legal advice, so they're concerned the cost of taking on the maintenance of the new bridge, or the newer bridge that we're going to keep, was too high, and the rights of way team do not want to take on the maintenance of it. I did clarify with them that that was not what we were expecting. The bridge is owned by the town council. We're expecting to carry on to maintain it. So they're looking at what options they've got as to whether to carry on keeping diverting the right of way, or if there are some other legal options that they can consider. And I'm chasing them fairly regularly to try and get an update on this. So that's the situation at the moment. It's taken a very long time, but it's kind of out of our hands until the rights of way issue is sorted.
Thank you, Lee. John?
Hang on. The implication of what they've told you there, Lee, as you probably twigged as well, is that means they were responsible for the bridge in the first place anyway?
Not necessarily, unfortunately. I know the concrete bridge that goes over from Bourton Road at the end of Badgers, the other end, that is because we've looked into that in the past, and I've got them to confirm that they do own that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they legally own the bridge.
They can't do it both ways, can they?
It's because they're changing it to be a new right of way. They have to go through a normal process of going through it.
Robin?
Yeah, I did 4 years on rights of way, and I think that I understand the logic of why they need to divert. I question why they felt in land that they didn't own that they had some responsibility, but it might be a misunderstanding. Very happy to try and cut through this, because it's a simple matter of if the bridge it becomes dangerous, they'll have to do a temporary order anyway, which will be a piece of paper. So that, I think that third stage, I believe, to correct it, to be wrong, is that a temporary movement order could be sought, and I do understand why rights of way take so long. They would take several years process, because there isn't the people in the office and having found committees, some of the ones that you turn down at the beginning of the year, by the fourth year, you get them back as an appeal. That gives you some time span of where they are, and they'll have to advertise it as a change route. It's like an application. So that's got long leaders. I think that we need to go for a temporary suspension of the right of way, for the very reasons that you were working on, is that there needs to be put in place, because they won't be able to access it if it isn't there, will they? And we can't keep it open, because that decision was taken because of safety, that the bridge was beyond repair. And I think that's where I would be going with it, Lee. I mean, I'm happy to take that conversation up if that's required. I had hoped that it would have resolved itself, with what you were doing, but and I thought you were doing an excellent job. But it just seemed that it's locked in the mire, and I think that's where we have to go. Maybe with agreement, we'll talk about how we do that, because I do think that we can't have the situation if the bridge suddenly fails, and we'll have to shut it, and people will have to go that way anyway. But that can be done by some sort of temporary order, I think. So let's see if we can explore that with you to see if we can get that moved forward, because you are doing everything you can do, but it hasn't got to the top of the heap, has it? and then it'll be 4 years after that.
Just seems to be dragging on, doesn't it?
It's not fair on you, it's not fair on you. Really not.
And while we've got a bridge which is not in a good state of repair, we're liable, aren't we, if there was any sort of incident. John?
I thought the bridge was shut anyway, isn't it?
We've kept this going,
Oh, really?
so we brought more deck boards just to keep it up and running. I wanted confirmation from rights of way that if we did shut it, we wouldn't be liable for the TTRO or the equivalent of a road closure, I believe. And that can be very expensive. So it worked out, instead of taking that risk of getting lumped with which could be thousands of pounds of TTRO, but buy some more timber, keep the deck, in a serviceable order, keep it open as long as possible. But saying that at some stage, it'll be more than just replacing the deck boards. The structure itself is in a really bad state. And we just have to close it and anyway. And actually, in fact, I think it may move the rights of way team on a bit sharp, a bit sharpish. If we suddenly have to close it, they're going to have to do something on there a bit sharpish. But I have written in last, so I keep asking, if we do have to shut it at short notice, are we liable for that TTRO? There's no response at the moment.
I would say that there is no suggestion for a second that that bridge isn't safe at the moment. The team are inspecting it every week, and we are not in any way being fast and loose with. When Lee's talking about short notice, we're not expecting to inspect it and it be, about to catastrophically fail. We're just saying, we need to close it. The inspection would suggest that on the point where it's repairable, we would need to close. And just to be very clear, we are not in any way suggesting that it's in any risk of being a danger to the public. It's just being very regularly inspected. So we are very on top of if there are any issues at all, and being patched up regularly.
John?
We just do what some farmers do and just tether a bull on it.
Have you got a spare ball?
I can fire them, sure.
They eat, they cost money.
Robin?
Yeah, I mean, one of those things that I expect, because when the parks were transferred to O2, and they all came across all the things about the bridges and the liabilities were all in that, so they were definitely ours, unfortunately. But the Buckinghamshire Council has a legal obligation to keep a right of way open, so they will want to keep it open. And if it was a farmer closing the right of way, we'd all be saying, why are you closing it? So I think it's the fact that it hasn't got to the top of the heap of being considered. And I think that might be through pressure of work and the fact that they've got a very small team in rights of way. It's not funded, even though rights of way are statutory rights, the same as any highway, it's an underfunded unit. I'm very happy to work with you, Lee, to try and unblock that if we can. I do know some of the people in rights of way.
Thank you, Robin.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there a provision anyway that if for some reason a right of way is not viable across your land, and as long as the landowner provides an alternative, that I'm sure I've seen that plenty of times.
It doesn't work. You can't just do that. A right of way legal agreement is a defined.
Okay, no will do as an answer.
You can't do it.
It's quite possibly the case that some farmers would do that.
Yeah.
However, we're not farmers, we're a town council.
We have to
and
act properly.
We've got to.
And it would be a challenge.
etc.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
As I said, I'll take no as an answer.
So thank you, Lee, for your continued work on that. Let's hope we can get some sort of resolution soon. It would appear that it oughtn't to be that difficult, but yeah. So thank you. Right, okay, we move on then to the next item, which is
biodiversity.
Biodiversity, which Lee is you again, really? under this policy?
Yeah, so hopefully the report explains it quite well. So it's to adopt the new policy, which is fairly straightforward. To note the action that we've already taken, and also to agree a budget for a biodiversity audit, which is a recommendation that goes with the policy, to look at town council land and come up with finally come up with some recommendations on things that we can do to improve our biodiversity across the town's land.
Thank you. Anya?
So this seems very sensible to me. I know we've got to have one anyway, or an updated one. A lot of the things that we're already doing will fit perfectly well with this policy. So if it encourages us to do what we want to do anyway, which is to do more of it. So I think I would support all three recommendations. I propose that we take them en bloc, and I would propose that we accept them.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Margaret. I've got Lucy.
I was going to suggest what Anya said.
Okay, all right. John?
The new policy does talk about planning applications. And as we've been in the realm of things that have to go through various committees this evening, I'm wondering whether we ought to pass this by the planning committee as well before we finally approve.
So the thought on that is we'd recommend it to full council to adopt the new biodiversity policy, because then they can, full council can take an overriding look at it and agree it all as well.
That's 1.1, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
Yep, that's okay.
does that answer your question, John?
Yeah. Yes.
Robin?
Partly following on briefly on what John said, if we have a biodiversity policy, which is the policy of this council, you tend to be right in the sense that that biodiversity policy should influence the way that we review planning applications, and such as the sense that we've agreed a policy which shouldn't prejudice planning application, but it may give the planning committee a clue to what the views of the council are in a new development around biodiversity. So I think that would be the logic. The other factor in, and I'm sure it's a yes and a yes, this policy will work for the emerging properties, that being the cemetery and any other property that we may inherit, and would work to the way that we manage those properties going forward to improve their biodiversity by recognising their historical background that we inherit, if you see what I mean. You shouldn't change your biodiversity, you shouldn't change something because you think, because you're not actually improving the biodiversity if you change it. So we'd have to audit areas to make sure that we knew what was there, we knew what the plants were, what the fauna were, and then the policy would work in a lay over the top of it, I should imagine.
Well, so there's an audit, which is 1.3, to agree a budget for biodiversity audit of the town council's land, the precept for 25-26. That's £10,000.
Leaving the last question, you chair, is it enough?
We don't know, Lee must have put the figures together, so
Because
nothing is there in.
Is it enough?
No, part of the budget. Sorry.
Yeah, it seems quite a big ask.
Yeah, for similar things that we've done in the past, we thought it was a perfect amount. We are getting costs at the moment. And if that needs to change, we will, but that's what we thought was an appropriate figure.
Sounds sensible.
Yeah. But well, if there's a policy, we should, at least when it's gone through council and agreed at that point, it should be referenced to the planning committee to know the policy, but it may not be of any substance in a planning application in any case, because they'd be bound by other pieces of paperwork. But if it was our own property that there's a planning application and we ought to be following our own policy.
I think it's an encompassing
Yeah.
thing, isn't it? And it's like the climate emergency
Yeah,
policy, which came from this committee to the rest of the council, and it's now
yeah.
It's all
influences-
encompassing, yeah.
Just to follow on from that, if I may, I should note that 1.2 and 1.3 are specifically for this committee.
Yes.
This committee will own the budget for the biodiversity audit.
Yeah.
But it's the policy as a whole that will go to full council, because as you say, you identified it is all encompassing across the entire council.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so we had a proposal and a seconder for all three of the recommendations. Are we ready to move to a vote on that? Okay, all those in favour? That was unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Nina.
Oh.
Nina's not here, I know. No, that's Paul, I know.
It's a private change.
Minute our thanks, Paul, please.
John got that, didn't he?
It's not that.
Well, I think most people were here last week.
Yeah.
Got that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing is, I believe, the complaints and compliments log. I wish it was the other way round. The compliments and complaints log. Okay. So this is complaints and compliments.
That's just compliments and complaints.
Is it?
Yeah.
Margaret.
Well, I think I have a rubbish memory on these things, but originally it was just a complaints log and we expanded it to include compliments as well.
Memory is sound.
Yeah. Compliments are better than complaints.
Yeah, absolutely. They should be getting more of this. But hey,
There are quite a few in there.
John.
Yeah, I was going to say there are quite a few compliments there
Yeah.
too, although who the heck knows what I'm going to compliment the 2 years built, there you go. The railway walk, this always intrigues me a little bit because the big pond there is a mysterious pond with grey misty waters in it, and I've had long discussions with people in the past about whether some of that is from when it was a railway and there's still railway chemicals in there and so on. I mean, any intelligence on that?
Okay, I
can
think
see
Lucy
wants to
can,
chip in here, so.
Lucy.
So
can give us
that
some
is
information on that.
an incredibly healthy
I'm not saying it's not.
No. Yeah, it's an incredibly healthy ecosystem. Most of the misty murkiness is caused by the breakdown of fatty molecules in leaves and mulch and everything that's going on under the surface. That's why it kind of looks a little bit oily sometimes. The colours are due to minerals, naturally occurring minerals within the soil. It's host to newts and frogs and lots of wildlife. It is an incredibly healthy bit of river. It smells because nature smells. And again, I'm not directing this to you, I'm directing this to countless people who I'm sure don't know the history behind it. And because to all intents and purposes, it is a bit smelly and it does look a bit like it's dirty, but it's not. It's just very naturally occurring bits and pieces, yes.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
It would really help if there was some notice.
So we spoke at the, if that's, sorry.
Yeah.
When the gentleman from Bucks came to talk about the potential work to be done along that stretch with this funding, we did discuss that with him and we did raise it with him about putting some information boards along the whole route and one specifically for that area, explaining why it looks the way it does, why it smells the way it does, and why it's incredible for all the wildlife in that area.
That would be helpful.
And there's no risk of the news frogs taking over Buckingham, is there?
No, not yet.
Not unless we have a radioactive spill. I think we're probably safer than that.
Question into my house.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, okay.
Loving you.
Does anybody else want to put from Robbie? Robbie?
I just say that when I was a younger person, it wasn't so attractive down there, and it used to be a cross-country route. And it used to be deep mud and slime and whatever, and we used to belly slide on it, and we used to run down it. So it's a vast improvement since town council took it over, and and I think over the lifetime of what they've done with it. Of course, it is always affected by the rainfall, isn't it? And there is ironstone. The red is ironstone, which is, Lucy says, it is a mineral in water around this area. If you go to anywhere where there's been a spring and you dig it up, you quite often find chunks of ironstone which have been for 1,000 years just built up, and it grows into a lump of ironstone. I've fetched them out many a time, so yeah, I think it's all very well. And if I was a newt, I'd be very happy to be in there.
Lisa.
Thank you. It was just on page 15. So it's the last compliment on that page about the events. Well, she's put that she'll comment about the events separately, but she does say that it's the management of town parks and events in her sentence. And it says feedback passed to the Green Spaces team. I just wondered if it had also been passed to those who were currently working on events. She mentions it in there.
Possibly, I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay. Can we request that it is?
Yeah,
please.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody happy with the rest of it?
Everybody's happy.
Thank you very much. So then, next, sorry, I've got my laptop's behaving itself tonight. Last week it just kept scrolling for no reason.
It just liked that particular page, didn't it?
You just move your keyboard.
I was like,
I think I sussed it out. I put a little dongle on the side which was supposed to be for a mouse, and I think it was damaged and it was
Right.
playing up. Okay, so the action report then, anybody got anything on the action reports too? About? Thank you. Robin.
Yeah, item 10, thank you, Leah, the team, for it says completed, so that must mean that the benches have been collected and safely in our thing.
Thanks, Lee.
Can I propose that we agree through Chair and the town clerk that we write a letter of thank you for the benches, just a matter of courtesy that we've got them in our possession.
You could send an email, but if I didn't, I don't.
No, it's just that I took several courteous emails to get to where we were, and we succeeded, and now we're the custodian of 2 new benches that might get used in.
Well, they're not new, but anyway.
Well, 2 additional benches that might get used in Strathspey at any point. So, just
Yeah,
thank you, Lee, and everyone.
Worked on that, so we now need to work out where they're going to go.
Yeah.
So that's
Only we have a strategy.
So yeah, I'm sure the suggestions for where they can be placed will be looked into. John.
Yeah, 2 points that I've raised before, but they're obviously on the action list. The solar panels on the community centre. I know there are other issues that are emerging with the community centre, but I'm still interested in knowing about the solar panels, because there's a consultant meeting happened on the 7th of August. What arose from that? Where are we at with regards to that plan? And secondly, we did write to the Shire Council about the pollution, vehicular pollution in the town. They haven't replied when this note was sent. Generally, I just find it would be helpful for me if there were some dates sometimes, because we've got the minute note of 432/23, but when was that? You know, was it the last meeting or was it several meetings ago? I mean, I don't have a kind of number in my head, but I do have dates in my head. So some dates added to this data. I don't mean going back over past ones, but for the future, it would be helpful to have dates sent. So letter sent. When was the letter sent, for example? Was it the end of September? Was it the end of August? You know, when you know, should we be expecting a reply now? Or was it only given them a couple of weeks or something? So those two issues I'd like to ask, what's happening?
If I may, then, so, yes, there are issues with the community centre roof, which we talked about quite a lot. Lee's had the roofer in doing various bits and pieces in the last couple of weeks, and it's finished now, hasn't he? There is still an issue of a leak, which is causing further problems, which we are still investigating, but we'll come back to this committee next. This committee, it's just something that's happened over the last lot of heavy rain. We've still got some real problems with that roof, which means that we're not in a position to put panels on, because we need to fix it before we cover it again. But it is very much ongoing, and like I say, the guy within the last couple of weeks has finished off a lot of work, which they know a bit more about than me. Do you want to just?
So the roof, we come around and repair all the slip tiles, but there's still a leak. We think we've identified it. We've started investigations, and we're going to carry on doing some more to find out exactly where it is. It seems to be happening only in heavy rain, but it is causing some other major problems as well. So, and I think it was Steve had the meeting with the consultant, so we're just trying to find suitable contractors and get some ideas of possible solutions. Looking at various different solutions, including instead of installing the panels on top over the roof, maybe replacing the roof with built-in panels and things like that. But more options are available. Previous to that, I've already, because of the fire risk side of things, we've got quite a lot of advice on what we need to do for that. So it's fire compliant, cut-off switches and fire, safe fire boxes for things to go in, and so a lot of investigations going on in the background. But that's where we're up to.
To add on, it might seem obvious where that the leak is where the water's coming out, but it really isn't. It's quite a complicated building with all manner of very inaccessible crawl spaces that are quite frankly dangerous, and we've obviously spent some money trying to board them out so we've got better access. But it's not immediately obvious exactly where all these problems come from, but we are pushing forward and stuff is going on.
Yeah, I would say that certainly when I had my panels added to my roof, the option was to make it flush with the roof or to put them on top. I won't put it on top myself, but you can easily, so if the major roof repair or any repairs required, that could be integrated as part of the work, for sure, as you say, Lee. And I mean, some of us here were present when we saw the damage to the floor by the entrance, which seems quite significant. And I know you were around looking at drains.
So we've done the initial, so we've got the drain people out to make sure the drains are cleared. They're running fine. We're doing the next bit of starting taking some wooden panels off, starting to get into it from the inside. Me and Ian are going to start doing that next Tuesday. Starting to talk to flooring contractors as well to get some ideas of best way of doing that. So we may well get them to lift up an area, see what's going on before we do the full repair, just to make sure we know what needs repairing, what other issues there might be under there.
And the air pollution from vehicles, when was the letter sent?
It was last. It's 23, it says on.
No, because 23 runs up until the end of March.
Okay.
I think I sent it. Well, I certainly sent it before the summer period, so I would have expected to have had a reply by now. So I could put it on my list to chase.
I thought my memory of that was it was going back a long time ago.
Well, that's right. They should be very important rather than just minute notes. Personally.
Is it
From 2 is quite late, so I think it would have been this year.
okay? Is it possible that we can have on this actual reports if letters sent, the date the letter's been sent, added to these and give us a timeline for expectation of reply?
Yeah, that should be. That should be reasonable.
Thank you, Robin.
Yeah. I think the community centre's been done, but there's lots discussed there and probably not on the agenda. So, but the pollution sense of it, I think the reason we think it was before that, if you remember, we had a visit in that early part of that year, residents of Embleton Way, who raised the issue with us about the pollution on the A421. The response was from the town council was, it was in public session, it wasn't something that we could respond to, so I think it went to another meeting.
I think that was about 12 months ago.
Yeah, and then I did question them at council. What happened after that is they did put in, they should be dead because they put in or agreed to put in monitoring, they call them tubes on the A421, because we identified in our discussions here that although they had information for the town centre, there was no information for the bypass. So that information should be available now. That what it told us, it'll be the period that they were out there, that'll be wherever they, from the 2 points they put the tubes in. Because I did go up there with them to try and identify the places to put them, and they're not that easy because they, you know, where they've got to go, they've got to be safe and not be interfered with. So that should be available. I expect it's one of those things that they haven't got round to responding. I'll just check that I haven't got anything with my in my emails to do with it, but I think it's a reasonable question. The other thing is, of course, the reason that they came from Embleton Way was because at the same time there was discussions about the dualling of the A421, and it was just at the point that they were going out doing consultations on the dualling of the A421, and there was some concern about the traffic increasing with the dualling through Buckingham if that was the case. So I think you're absolutely right to keep on to this, John, because I do believe that there will be some further consultations to the A41. There's a written response in the council minutes to a question around that. So I do think we do have to keep on. The two things aren't directly linked, but the traffic is the issue, and the residents, when they first moved into those houses, the traffic was quite a lot less, and these particles, I think, is it nitro particle,
It's nitroglycerin dioxide.
Nitrodioxide, and yeah, it's the one, not nitroglycerin.
Thank you, Robin.
Yeah, but nitroglycerin, that made me smile.
Okay, thank you. Number 9, the motion about no idle zones, it says completed. How has that been left? I know the Mothers Can network were involved in this, particularly at Buckingham Primary School. But I was sort of half expecting something to come back here for people like me to do something.
So the only responses we got was from Buckingham Primary School, where they've got their policy already in place, and from Buckingham Secondary School. Nina and I went and met at Buckingham Secondary School. Their issues up there with more to do with parking than idling, although we did talk to them about the buses idling outside. Unless we get any communications back from any of the other schools, I think there's nothing really we can do about it. We push it. Is that fair?
I think that is reasonable. I mean, the task that was set in the first place has, like I said, been completed. There is limited engagement. The schools would argue that they had already, can't speak for them, but I would guess they would argue that they had already done what they can do, or it's proportionate.
Yeah.
Would you like to correct what I told Councillor Harvey earlier? I have double checked, and the motion, it was from the last meeting of last year, so it has been a while. I've got, regarding clean air, a vague recollection, I got a basic holding response of we're doing something, and our full report will be on our website at some point, so I'll have to go and check that. Yeah, but apologies, you were correct, Chair, it was last year.
Yeah, I thought it was. Margaret, is that sorry?
Yeah, I just don't, I guess just feels a bit,
Yeah, I know.
because it is, it's also linked with parking and use.
But
of cars.
we were still talking with the mothers, and talking about, trying to work with them to do something, but I've not heard from them for a little while. Might be an idea for us to get
I
back.
don't want to lose it, that's the problem.
Lucy.
I was just gonna say, maybe we can think about putting it on the agenda for the next environment committee meeting. We'll think of some ideas and then. maybe
It's getting engagement, that's the thing, and otherwise it's a hard it's nothing really, isn't
Yeah.
it?
I think it's potentially significant that the only 2 schools that have
Wow.
responded are the ones that are still in council control. Yeah.
That's exactly was the first point I was going to make. The Alley schools are the ones that responded, which feels the academies haven't responded. So their children are the same residents as everybody else, and would it be fortuitous to ask the education authority whether they have any one-size-fits-all policy in Buckinghamshire? There seem to be these one-size-fits-all things now. Maybe there may be some part of Buckinghamshire in Chesham or Marlow where they've got a policy which says you can't idle outside your car. It would be worth.
Well, it's a highway code, I think, Robin.
Yeah. I know it, but
You're not supposed to sit with your engine.
well, I've read it for a long time.
No,
Yeah.
read it quite recently.
Barbara.
Well, I think Buckinghamshire did, when I put this forward, I think it was Anya that said Buckinghamshire, one of
There had been a
you.
motion on Buckinghamshire Council on it. I don't recall the details now, to be honest. I don't think it came to
It
anything.
was from the opposition you've been rejecting.
No, it didn't. Yeah,
But I think,
I can look it up, but I can't recall the details.
County did have a no idling campaign. Trying to Google it, but my recollection is that they had some posters and things made up across the.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that when we went to the secondary school, Nina and I, the guy from the community board had some things that he gave out. Secondary school, they were, unless we can get engagement, as I said before, it's a bit of a hiding to nothing, really.
Yeah.
Just again to add to that, there's an article from pretty much a year ago. It says there are 5 schools in the whole of Buckinghamshire taking a stand to improve air quality.
Wow.
That many.
That many.
Where?
Princess Risborough is the trailblazer apparently. So you're right, South Bucks.
Princess Risborough is not South Buxton.
It's out of the county, but
Yeah.
John.
Well, one of the things that we did once when we were trying to campaign against them introducing car park charges at the Swan car park, obviously we didn't succeed, but we did try, was that we did a survey. And we arranged a kind of a schedule whereby one of us was up there throughout a couple of days to identify when there were free car parking spaces, just to prove the point that it wasn't that there were things were being overparked, there was always a free space.
Yeah.
And we proved that beyond any doubt. I'm wondering whether a similar survey in this instance wouldn't be a bad thing, because we know the main issue where this happens is outside Bourton Meadow School. Whether we should arrange, if people are interested, we do this formally or informally, is just go along there and just clock how many cars are idling at school pickup time and that's for how long they're idling, and just do a survey and present that data to the school.
There is a data collection tool for exactly that on the Buckinghamshire Council website.
Is that? Well, I mean, it's not on the agenda,
No, it's not.
so maybe next time we can discuss that.
Next agenda,
Yeah.
which will be coming to winter time, which is one of the times when people will
So,
sit.
people doing it.
Just the January, February would be the best time to do.
Okay,
Okay,
so do we put it on the agenda then for the next meeting?
absolutely, yeah. Anything else on the action report? Robin,
Should we have the highway code on as well?
sorry?
Should we have the highway code on as well? Because I didn't realise it was in the
It
highway.
is a
code.
bit highway code. You're not allowed to sit with your engine running.
Yeah,
It isn't there.
well, I mean, it's very relevant.
When I brought the original motion, I did point out that it is actually already illegal, it's just that it's not enforced. So we need to be doing the education because the enforcement isn't going to work, really. So,
It's probably better than it used to be because the number of vehicles now which have got the automatic engine cut
The
out.
activator,
Um,
activate.
when
Yeah.
you stop, and electric vehicles as well, so it's probably not as bad as it used to be. However, it's obviously still an issue. Please.
Thanks. I was gonna make a suggestion, if we did do a walk around, that we do not wear high vises because their parking completely changes.
Mhm.
That they don't park and double park and on corners and opposite junctions and all that illegal stuff.
It's amazing what wearing a high vis.
I know. Yeah.
Alternatively, we can always all take a constitutional walk around there with high vises on every morning.
Yeah.
It's scarecrows.
So can I take from that chair, John, do you want to send me a motion or whoever it was?
Okay.
First,
What do you want?
can Margaret do it?
Sorry.
So it's Margaret's motion in the first
Original.
place.
Yeah.
And Margaret brought
I'm
it.
happy for that.
Yeah, Margaret brought it
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Margaret sees ownership of it.
Yeah,
Seems logical, doesn't
is
it?
that okay with everybody? I think
Yeah.
Is that all right with you, Margaret?
Yeah,
It was a real.
Awkward if you said no, wouldn't it?
Margaret, so
It's-
in the first place.
Yeah.
I went back to John, and John said bring it to the next meeting, so sorry about that.
Well, actually, Lucy said it first.
We work collegiately.
we work together.
We can.
I was just quite the highway code.
Right, I can let you have a copy of that, Robin. In fact, I might even do it on just on my laptop. Okay, right, so I think that would be just the action report, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The news releases, do we have any news releases going on?
Well, I don't know whether it needs to go to full council or not, but we have agreed this evening that we're going to start the process of creating a town, or just a town-wide, whatever, seating strategy. We could put out a press release to the effect that we're doing this, and we'd encourage people to maybe offer their suggestions as to what the strategy might include, so that we involve the town in the development of the strategy. Would that be a press release worth putting out?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't have strong feelings either way, yes, we could do that.
Well, I'm all for engaging people, and this is a
Yeah,
hot
absolutely.
topic. And if we can engage the public over this, that helps them recognise that we are here, we exist for them, blah, 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 blah. It's just a good bit of PR as well as
Yeah,
involving people in development of something that could be quite important.
thanks, John. Robin.
Actually, not against it, but I remember reading didn't engage in it, but I saw some of the social media posts and some of the suggestions of putting them outside Jardines on the slope in the middle of where we have the market. And some of the suggestions were places where clearly wouldn't do
You
it.
can suggest what they.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that
They're just suggestions.
I'm just saying that we might get some unusual suggestions.
We might, and we might get some brilliant ideas too.
And
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm like out school days, somebody might come up with something which works really well, which we've not thought about.
No, I'm just saying we have to be aware that we'll get some.
Absolutely, of course, so everything, just because somebody suggested something, it doesn't mean it's gonna happen, does it?
Exactly.
We could have inflatable sofas outside the old town hall that would deflate as soon as the owner appears and then
Yeah.
reflate when he's gone.
We'll have them suspended from the canopy. Swing bench.
Yeah,
Invisible.
yeah.
Inflatable sofas.
Yeah, there's clear secret
You
ones.
can't again at the moment.
Yeah, that's all that.
Okay, right. I have no announcements. Date for next meeting, Monday, the 25th of November. Thank you all.
Thank you, actually.
Quickly.